Hello and welcome to IAFA Insider. I'm Ryan, and in a slightly amusing part this week, this is actually our second attempt to record the show because the first phone call we had didn't record. And yes, that's Garland Drake in the background. So on this week's show, I will be talking to Garland Drake of the Meath Bulldogs and to Matthew Craig of the Carrickfergus Knights. But first, a quick solemn word regarding the passing of the Cork Admirals who folded at the weekend. I saw a message on their fan page earlier today on Facebook. The outpouring of support for them has been tremendous, and I obviously like to extend my own in that respect. I had a couple of great battles against the Admirals, and I hope we see football back in Cork in the not-too-distant future. But first, let's get to IFL 1 action, because we normally start off with Chamber Bowl Conference, but let's give the IFL 1 a bit of a prop this week. So we're going to go with Garland Drake. Garland, welcome to the show again, literally in more ways than one.
Thanks, Emmett. Greatly appreciated, man.
Well, Garland, as we were discussing earlier before when we were trying to record this, great offensive display for your team this week. I know it was only the one touchdown, but you finally got on the scoreboard. I suppose mentally, what did that mean to you guys?
That put confidence into our offense that what we practice and what we practice so long for is exactly that. Even though it was only one score, it did build our confidence. We just need to build on that more. Our offensive unit was very good in getting down the field. We actually got penalized on the first score that we made, so those guys were very determined to get in the end zone, and success was happening on the second play that our quarterback, Eddie McMahon, ran it in from about 20 yards out.
Now, of course, it was a 6-all draw, so you gave up one score, but it was a pretty good defensive performance. How did you guys prep for the Minotaurs?
We actually utilized their offensive formats that we had seen prior to their first game, and we just wanted to make sure that we could get our defense to understand what they were doing. It looked like and they would probably correct me on this, but it looked like it was a slight of a hybrid pistol formation. But they were pretty good at getting their plays off. It's just that my defense was ready and determined to hold them back, you know. But I give hats off to them. They came to play football.
I suppose, like, because you obviously you played back home in the States, Garden, before moving here. Like, the pistol's probably something you're a bit familiar with, even from watching on TV, like a lot of the listeners will be. I suppose a challenge for a team, having seen the likes of Nevada pioneer with Chris Ault, and obviously you've seen it a bit in the NFL. Like, what's a challenge for a team, I suppose, that's at our level, really, over here, trying to implement something like the pistol?
Yeah, basically on a pistol formation or a pistol offense, if you like, you are going to rely on speed. You're going to rely on speed and the quickness of either getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand or giving it to the running back, and he's going to go. He's heading to the sidelines to turn upfield and go, and it's a challenge to a defense that wouldn't really have that experience against an offense like that. But we're looking forward to it. I believe we meet them again before the end of the season, so we're really looking forward to it. It's an opportunity for my defense too to have a bit of a difference than the old basic fundamental football, you know, run and gun.
And I suppose looking at that, because obviously you guys are, speaking of opportunities, your first opportunity to play a home game is coming up next. It'll be in 3 weeks' time. I see it against the Tullamore Phoenix. We were discussing earlier. You've got a new home this year, playing in Navan Rugby Club. Like, how important was that move there for you guys?
Oh yeah. First off, I have to give my club committee just credit because they worked their butts off to negotiate and talk with Navan Rugby Club, and Navan they welcomed us very well with utilizing their facility, and it's a fantastic facility, which just makes it all more exciting for our first home game of the season, you know, in a proper venue that we can actually call home now.
And I suppose one other thing I've noticed as well is because you've had a pretty spread out schedule to date. Once you start that home stretch you've got, it's a bit more compact. You won't be playing every week, but it'll be a bit nearer to each other. For you as a coach, how will that change your role? Will it be easier for you to get the guys ready, keep them focused on the games?
I hope, yeah, I hope without sounding too optimistic about it. I hope we can get in because unfortunately we only have 2 practice sessions per week. But I have confidence in the guys that they'll put it together and we'll be successful on our first home game of the season.
Well, Garland, thanks a lot for joining us on the show, especially for doing this interview twice.
Thanks, no problem, man. Great, appreciate it.
And that was Garland Drake, head coach of the Meath Bulldogs. Next up, I spoke with Matthew Craig of the Carrickfergus Knights, following their narrow win over the West Dublin Rhinos at the weekend. And joining me now is the chairman of the Carrickfergus Knights following their 14-7 win over the Dublin Rhinos at the weekend, Matthew Craig. Matthew, thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
Well, Matthew, I suppose we'll start off on the offensive side of the ball because it's the first time we've been discussing the Knights really this season. So for people, first time at least talking to a Knight, we have spoken to people who played against you. So I suppose looking at you got 2 touchdowns. What sort of offense did you run? Like what succeeded for you, I suppose, really against the Rhinos?
Well, every time we play the Rhinos, it seems to be, kind of which team makes the mistake first or which team gives up a safety first. I don't know in the history of the league whether there's ever been a 2-0 victory like the last time we played the Rhinos. So we knew that we could run the ball well. We had Darren Montgomery back for us, so we just kind of wanted to pound the ball, move the ball very, very, very well on the ground the first series. Went a fourth down a couple times. It worked for us. Just couldn't punch it in on the first series. Second series, we went back to the same thing. We were able to mix run and pass a little bit and score early, which I'm not sure we necessarily expected to do right away, but that was good and gave us a lot of confidence.
I remember from my own playing days when I played against the Knights, we're known for having serious speed out wide. Is that still a big weapon for you, and is that still important?
I suppose it is. We wanted to run the ball first to set up the pass in this game. I think obviously with Adam Devaney, we have always been great down the sidelines. I think his shoulder was bothering a bit, so we were a little concerned about maybe getting the ball deep down the sidelines. We wanted to see if we could just run the ball, and no matter how many people they seemed to put in the box, we were still able to run it. So we just kind of wanted to do that until we had to pass, really. And so we did. And the guys that you remember, they're quite quick, are a little older these days.
Of course.
Not quite the same speed. I'm sure Paul McKillop would like to tell you that it still has the same speed, but not quite the same out there. More a possession receiver now, probably. But we still have some guys who can fly on the side, and when we go 4 wide, we can certainly mix things up a bit.
Possession receiver, what a wonderful euphemism that is.
Yeah, you like that?
I like that one, yeah.
For slow.
And so looking at the defensive side, because I know the Rhinos did manage to score against you, but still held them to 7 points, which across 2 games is not shabby in the slightest. So, defensively, what did you guys run, and what did you see that they were doing against you that you were able to stop?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to comment too much on the defense. So Spencer McDowell, coordinates our defense. Our defense have always been done pretty well. We just wanted to stop the run, which we did most of the day. Whenever the quarterback was going back to pass, we had at least 2 or 3 guys in his face every time. And I don't ever think that any score is a mistake, but they got lucky on one big play down the sideline where we had a little break in coverage, and they made us pay for it. And credit to them to do that. They found one hole. We made a mistake, and they scored a touchdown on that. And even we blocked their first extra point on that, but we were offside, so they got another chance. I certainly feel like we kind of kept letting them back into the game. I felt that we actually played better than the score, and certainly better than the first time we played them. We ran the ball very, very well, put together, string together a number of passes, but just couldn't necessarily punch it in there. Till after halftime, we got our score, and then it was just kind of hang on from there.
And I suppose looking at sort of the long-term situation with this victory, because in terms of the position in the table, it's huge. You go from being a game ahead of the Rhinos essentially to being potentially only being a game ahead of them to now being a full 2-game lead on them. So that's pretty important, I suppose, for you guys looking at the playoffs.
Certainly, we felt like it's a game that we definitely wanted to win. They had already beaten the Rebels, who of course beat us rather handily a couple weeks ago. We weren't sure if they added people or what, but we're somewhat of a concern. It was a game that we felt like we had to win to be where we want to be. Obviously, we need to do what we have to do against the Cowboys in the next game against them, but we kind of feel like it's going to come down to the Rebels and ourselves probably for that 2-3 spot, the way it looks at the minute anyway. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen, but we want to position ourselves well in that race at the top. So it was a game that we had to win, getting better for our next matchup with the Trojans in a couple weeks. So it was a game that we needed. We had a few guys back. and one that we had to win for sure.
I suppose just looking at the weeks ahead, you've got a bit of a break now before that Trojans game. It's until the 19th of May. So what will you guys be trying to work on, I suppose, between now and then? Because you've got a fair bit of time to work with.
Yeah, for us, it's consistency. I mean, I think a lot like a lot of teams. We're playing some new guys. We're playing a lot of rookies, which are actually stepping up and starting for us, which is fantastic. I think for us, it's consistent. Getting a couple guys healthy will be huge for us. We have a few guys with some injuries that we haven't been able to play the last game or two. We hope to get everyone back, get them healthy, work on some consistency. I mean, we'll always put a few wrinkles in, I think, with the offense, but just when you don't get time in between games, it's just difficult to work on things. So I think we'll just work on being consistent, probably put in a few surprises, which of course I'm not going to say, but probably put in a few things. But I would say it was just about getting consistent, doing the little things well. We'll probably even go back to a little bit of blocking and tackling. We feel like, we're doing things well. We just need to get more consistent.
That's great. Well, Matthew, thanks a lot for joining us on the show.
No problem, man. Thanks.
And that's all we have time for on this week's edition of IAFA Insider. We're just going to run over the results from last weekend and look ahead to the upcoming fixtures in the league. The results from the Shamrock Bowl Conference: the West Dublin Rhinos 7, Carrickfergus Knights 14, the Dublin Rebels 62, the Craigavon Cowboys 6. And there are no games in the coming week in the Shamrock Bowl Conference. In IFL 1, we had one game just. The Meath Bulldogs drew 6-all at the Mullingar Minotaurs. There are 2 games in IFL 1 this weekend for anyone looking for their football fix. The Waterford Wolves are at the Drogheda Lightning. That's in St Oliver's Community College. And the Dublin Dragons are at the Tullamore Phoenix. That's at Tullamore RFC. Both of those games kick off at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining us.